G'day, welcome to part 2 of the CB350 project bike. A few things to talk about. This chapter we get it going, and I'm having pink milk because it brings out the feminine side of me, even though I don't really have a feminine side, but it's pink. So, I've been busy with this. I got it going today, sort of. Pardon me. I've ordered parts for the 750, so I can't really show you much on it, although I've started to, I've got the tyres removed and I've started to delace the rims. I've just loosened them. I've got to get photos so I can remember how to put them all back on. But I've ordered parts for the 750. So I've ordered spokes, a new set of spokes for it because I want to take the rims off and get them re-chromed. The fork tubes or stanchions, if you like, and seals I've also ordered. And the brake light switch, the brake light spring, which is insignificant. Original grips I've ordered. Not sure which bike I'll use them on. They're the old-fashioned, genuine Honda ones, and I kind of like them. The pilot jets as well. So I want to get the 750 dialed in and the front end on, get it off its bum, put it on the centre stand, and then concentrate on the rear wheel and sprockets and all that sort of stuff. The 350, I've ordered a frame cut for the back half, and I'll tell you why. I've had lots and lots of comments, and thank you so much for all the comments, and thanks also for the suggestions. I read every single comment, and the more you can give me the better, because it does sway my opinion with I always have an opinion or a vision what I'm going to do, but it's nice considering other people's because they think of things that I haven't already thought of, although I had with this. Now, the reason I bought it, I thought it looked cool, and it's a 354, and I was considering the cafe build, but I will get a sore back riding it. I don't like rear sets and I don't like clip-ons, although I do like the look of them. The riding position is going to be awful for me. So I wanted more of a easy, relaxed, sort of upright riding position. And so for that, and the fact that the original owner had the foresight to keep all these parts and didn't sell them off, has swayed me into doing a standard original build. Now, you know, I can use the new frame cut. I'm going to go and see one of the engineers at work, and I might ask him to weld it together. We might have to put some reinforcing inside the tubes where we cut them and join them, but which might involve also plug welding the inner tube and then seam welding around where the joint is. I want it to look absolutely perfect, and my welding, although it'll be strong, won't look as good as what he can do, or what one of those guys can do. So yeah, that's the sort of decision I made with it. It's just got too many good parts with it, and you know, I've just decided on that. I want to say thanks to Eric. Eric's the gent that sold me the bike. His son was the owner. He wasn't. He sold it to me, and I've been in touch with him. He saw the first video and he kind of liked it, which was good. So if you see this, Eric, thanks very much. There's still the inner rear guard I've got to get a hold of, and the switch gear, which I can buy switch gear, but there was a couple of the small bits and pieces. I can't remember what they were. So I've also been in touch with Russ, and in the box full of parts there was a key fob which had Russ's mobile number, and I called him up and we had a great chat, and he actually sent me a photo of what the bike was like, and I'll go into that in a moment. So the other reason I've decided against doing a cafe build is that a lot of the styling cues on these 70s Hondas is so classic and so beautiful. The best tracker I've seen is Dave Raymaker's bike. It's a BMW, it's an 86, and it looks so much better than what the original bike did. Now, a lot of those 80s bikes, they're not quite as nice. The instrument binnacles are pretty horrible on them, the square headlights, all that sort of stuff. And when I bought the 750 at Classic Style, they had a GS650 Suzuki, which someone had done the same thing too. Had a big square fairing on the front of it with a radio and all this sort of other stuff, and it would have looked great as a cafe or tracker or one of those sorts of style bikes. But the 70s Hondas, they kind of look good anyway, so it's a shame almost to reduce it to something else when it looked good to begin with. So that's the reason I've decided on that, and the cost to bring it back to original isn't going to be much more than what it would have been to finish it anyway. We spent a lot of time sort of trying to get the thing going. We found a couple of surprises which were unforeseen, which is always the case with old bikes, but I'll let the video tell the story. But in the meantime, I want to have a little bit of talk about Russ. So please don't be too critical of those who take on projects, and don't forget that if everyone did the same thing, life would be pretty boring. So creativity is very important and keeps these sorts of hobbies alive. I mean, gosh, look at the XC restoration. It'll end up being far nicer than it was before. Anyway, I spoke to Russ, who sent me this picture of our CB350 taken in, I think, August 2012. He was pretty pleased to hear from me and ended up inviting me for a beer. And look, he was a bit disappointed to learn of the, well, styling changes to his bike, I guess, but when we sell things, we relinquish them, and it's up to the new owner what direction is to be taken. Russ had great things to say about his CB350. He took it on many long trips from Glen Iris, I think it was, to Warrnambool, and countless trips to Geelong as well. He kept the bike well serviced at a specialist in Richmond, but one day after he got it back, it never quite ran right and it would break down in high rev range. His usual technician wasn't there, and someone else didn't perform good work and refused to readdress the issues when Russ took it back. He owned the bike for a few years, but after a nasty accident on another bike, he sort of decided it was time to sell the 350 and let somebody else enjoy it. So here's a picture of an identical one to the one I bought all those years ago. Well, I think it was 1982. CB350 is usually the red that Russell's is, or Candy Bacchus Olive is another popular one, and I think there's some blue ones and black ones as well. I've never seen a silver one. I'm not sure if they were just unique to Japan or Australia, but I'm considering this colour scheme. I don't usually like silver, but I do think it looks pretty damn good on these. So we've ordered bits and pieces for the CB750, I'm on my trolley, the, what do you call it? Pilot jets and stuff like that. And it's given me time to have a look at this thing here. Now, this is a non-runner in the present state. Hasn't had an oil filter on it for a long time, so I've got to bang an oil filter in. The spark plugs are all broken. Two of them are broken, I think. The other two aren't. The wiring loom is just sitting there. There's no return on the throttle, but they're nice and free, which is a good thing. So a few things we need to do. We need to ascertain what the engine's like. Apparently it's good, but it was last ridden in 2014. So we'll start having a good look at what's here. It's not seized, but I will throw a little bit of oil in the cylinders before I start kicking it over and whatnot. But for the meantime, I need to do a few tests and just to sort of see what we've got. Double throttle cables. This looks like a new one, and they're nice and free. This one's not secured to the throttle housing, so I think what we'll do is we'll just bolt up a few things. So I'm just going to fiddle around, and probably the first thing is have a look at the oil system, but I just want to get the throttle on so I can hold it open while I do a compression test, although I can just hold it open there. But I do want to start it, so I'll stick the throttle cable on now. I do sort of feel for the guy that had this, because he dropped a bit of money on it and ended up getting parts that didn't really fit. If I was to do cafe, I would have started with a worse bike, one that had bad tinware and, you know, in shabby condition. This one seemed to have been pretty good, although having said that, it does look really tough as a cafe, but it's I will cop a very sore back. That's the only thing I don't really want about it, or the only thing I don't really like about it. This cable here ain't gonna go. Hang on, what's going on here? I'd sooner do a cafe on something like a 350 twin or a 200 twin or something. Yeah, maybe a 350 twin, I think that'd look good. The 4's just a bit too much of a classic in my book, but yeah, hang on, let me just work out this. See if I can fit that on. The cable does look a little bit too short. So I've just pushed this ferrule out, and I've just cut this, the inner, very carefully with the Dremel, just sort of run along it, and then each link, so to speak, will come off, and you can just grab it with side cutters, and when you squeeze them, they sort of buckle and they just come off. I missed that one. But it's the original cable, I think, this one, and so shortening the outer sheath worries me. It means obviously it'll fit this throttle, but not, there it is, but not the one that we end up with. That's a plastic inner that sort of sits in between that steel rib, and that had damage on it before. I only cut up to the damage. I'll just cut that off with a blade and try and fit that up. The bit that I'm not that keen on is that I will have to take the engine out of it, and I didn't want to, just on the premise that if I do any welding here, I don't want the engine in there. So that ferrule should just go back over there. And that cable is completely unscathed, which is cool, so we should be able to fit that up. And so I didn't take any measurements, I just completely guessed it. Oops. I've got some cheap handlebars, but they're like the 750 ones, so they won't suit this. But in order to pull it around, to move the bike around, I might put them on with the original headstock, because these things are uncomfortable. It does look bloody good though. But I wouldn't mind. I had a CB350 years ago, I picked up from work. It was donated to the auto program, and that closed down, and the guys that it was in was a lovely bloke called Laurie Bradford used to run it. And all that shut up because the classrooms he used were pulled down and they built a new tech centre there. I can't get this thing in. And so I took that because it was all going in the Dumbmaster. And it was a runner, but it was incomplete because I should have kept it. Alright, I'm going to turn the camera off. Oh, here it is. I just want to get this bloody thing in. It's being a pain. So we're a little bit better off than we were. We have a throttle. Kill switch is easy when you test it. You just disconnect the battery. That is far more satisfactory. What do you think? You happy with that? Good. Let's pull this loom out the way. Hang it over the back. We'll yank some plugs. And check them out. They're black and broken. Old broken plugs are great if you're going to repaint an engine. You just put them back in. It stops any paint getting around the thing. But I've even been thinking about that, and I don't think I'll even paint it. I don't like these. They're too modern. I like the old screws and bolts, so to speak. Sort of more old school mechanical. That one's really munted. So I kind of like the old fashioned stuff. So this is the sort of thing where I'm going to get this thing on the road quickly. And just go around the local village on it. And then I can sort of do a rolling rest over if I feel like it. But I know what I'm like. Once it's going, I won't touch it. So I can't turn this over yet. I can't do a compression, just can't do anything. Because there's no oil filter on it. So let's have a look at that. Right, please excuse my messy bench. Now, that's for the 750. When I give it its first oil change, when it has wheels, I will change the filter and put a new bolt in. This is 350 and it is a lot. I think that might be the wrong one. It's supposed to be a spring and a washer there. This is actually a deeper one than the 750. But whatever the case, I'm going to have to clean that out. I need to see if my lovely OEM filters are the same size, which they are. So I'm not going to use that. That's the one that came with it. It's been out of the bike for ages. So we can't do anything with that. Except chuck it in the bin. Now, I need to clean that out. It's got a lot of snot in there. Not that much, just a little bit. So I'll get a bit of brake clean and give it a hose. Now that is far more promising. Now, I've been to A1 Motorcycles. I've ordered another spring and 2 flat washers. Now, you only need 1 flat washer, which stops the spring digging into that rubber seal. But I've ordered 2 because I made one up for the 750 and I'm happy with it, but not happy with it. Do you know what I mean? So I'm just going to take one of these off. The broad O-rings for the housing, obviously. And we'll just pop a little bit of lubricant on there. And the small O-ring is for the shank. I've just dropped that in there like an idiot. I better go and get my pedestal. Anyway, the small one's for the bolt. Now, I'm just going to pop that there for a moment. So I just want to see, I'll prematurely chuck this out, just to make absolutely sure that they're right. There's a 15th of difference in it, but that could be down to the fact that this is HF. I don't know what the hell that is. Stick some oil in. Hopefully it doesn't leak everywhere. I checked the sun plug. That was tight. So we'll just chuck some oil in, and I'm going to put an oil pressure gauge on too because I just want to see what it's doing. That's going to take a little while because it's cold today. Just put a little bit in first, just look around, make sure it's not running out all over the floor. I'm just going to pop this starter out just to get better access to the oil pressure switch. I want to take that out and put a gauge in, just to read it, see what we can see. That should just slide back. That's lovely and clean. Can we see that? Oh, yes we can. Good. Right, so I need to get this little guy off, and it's horrendously bastardish to get off with a spanner, so I might use a socket for that. I've only got a bit of brake clean left. I'm sort of shooting it around here. This thing's had work done to it. See all that Hylamar? Which I'm probably washing away with brake cleaner, which is really stupid. But it is so bloody clean. We're out now. I just wanted to do that to have a look. This bike should be a bit of a peach. I'm sort of hoping it will be. I've noticed this camera, or the phone I'm using, compensates for light a lot better. It is much better. Oh God. There's better visibility. That is tight. Where you are, looking at this through the camera, than there is from what I can actually see with my naked eye. Man, that's tight as a fish's bum. We all know why those things are tight. I'm not going to say it now because I've said it before. Oh, God. Am I going the right way here? I need some tools. These ones are a little bit naked. So the reason we're doing this is just so we can get a proper reading on the oil pressure, which will spurt up through that hole, which I probably should have sealed up a bit better than what I did, because I didn't seal it at all. So I'm just going to put in this. Oh great, now the gauge probably doesn't even bloody work. I'm just going to pop this in. There we go. I don't want to drop anything in that hole. I think I'll hose that off before I put this thing back together, if I haven't wrecked my gauge. This has an olive on it, so I'll just poke that in and do him up, and then we've got ourselves a little gauge set up. Isn't that absolutely lovely? I'm going to pop just a little squirt of oil in the barrels, in the cylinders. Just 2 little hits. It'll cloud up the compression tester reading, but I'd sooner that than you know, scraping up the bores and that sort of stuff. So let's see what happens now. Turns over bloody quickly. Probably because I just charged it. I think I can see some oil moving around up there. As I pulled the camera away, we got a reading. Hang on, can you see up there where my finger is? Let's have a look now. Yeah, coming now. Right, so I think what we'll do is we'll whack a compression tester on and see what happens. All right. Nothing. Nothing. Not a zip. Could be sticky valves. There should be something there. Well, we have good oil pressure and no compression in any cylinder, which is bad. It strikes me it could have a bunch of sticky valves. That being said, what I'll do is I'll just check the valves to make sure they're all closing. It's been meddled with, so I don't know what the story is, but it's not good. Right, so I've got an issue in that we've got Zippo compression on our 350. I'm just going to look at the timing. Sorry, the valve clearances. I'm going for, actually I can go for 1 4, 2 and 3. I'm just looking through here. There it is. Where's T? Right, as you bring it round, I don't know if you need to see this. I've probably already explained it, and if I haven't, friggin' Hackerweek did. Can we peer? You know, I can't see the camera things in the way. 1.4 there. F means fire, and T on that little mark means top dead center. Right, straight off the bat, that's rocking. This one's not, so it might be that we're on number 4 top dead center, or number 4 firing, and that's rocking, and that's not. Right, so I'm just going to back this off. That's too small. What is it? This is tiny, this thing. It's like doing valve clearances on a wristwatch. Try this one. No, now. Alright, let's undo that a bit. Back these out. And just redo our clearances. I'm going to do the same here because we've got another one that's jammed shut there. I don't know which one it is. They're both turned right in. Christ, what's going on? They should not be like that. There's something very wrong. There's something really wrong. Okay. Because nobody who does valve clearances could get them this bad. I've had to back out heaps on number 1 as well as number 4. The intake's good there. Like I can feel that. That'd be about 2,000. So 750 has 3 on the exhaust and 2 on the inlet. This has 2 on each. So something's a bit weird here. Good clearance there, and this one's still loose now, but I've just had to back it out a whole lot. So if we're on number 1, and we're checking number 1, we can also check number 3 intake as well, and that should be loose, which is not, it's tight. And number 4, okay, and number 2 exhaust, sorry. This is making me very uncomfortable. I'm taking this off just to have a look. It's just weird. There's something really, really funny. I think someone's messed with it. I just don't know. Russ said he got it back from a joint and it was just awful what they'd done. And if you look at this, we've got the wrong size bolt with 2 washers there ganged in there. So straight off the bat we're up to we've got some disadvantage going on. It just looks like a dog's breakfast. And I would never be happy running a bike in that state of bad repair. See, that's loose, probably because the thread might be stripped on it. Let me see, because these things do strip out very, very easily. Right, there you are, that's completely stripped. So we need to recoil that. And they'll probably shoehorn that in. I don't know. But I need to see in here. Oh God, I need to see what's going on, because I'm just not happy with it. Let's have a look here. That's how you tell all those threads come off. Can you see what I'm talking about? They're just on the shank of the one, the thread of the bolt, just there. There we go. So that's alright, we can recoil that. Okay, that one is doable. That's good. I'm going to check every thread. Someone's changed it all out for these Allen head things anyway, and I prefer the JIS just because they look more factory. Worst case scenario, if I have to start taking bits off it, I'm not going to touch the bottom end. I'm not splitting cases. But I am prepared to do valves and stuff like that. That's cool. That's alright. It's going to keep going, and I'll be back shortly. Okay, let's see if we can get them joined. Oh, that's better. Wonderful. Alright, we have fresh oil up there, which is one thing. That's really good. Okie dokie. Right, so looking at this, it's all looking fairly good. There's nothing untoward there. All the cam bearing surfaces are pretty well mint. As we said, we can replace this back on the engine using this original O-ring. We don't have to replace it, so it's not a big deal. But some of this is. We've got nice fresh oil that's pumping up there and all this sort of stuff, so I'm pretty happy with that. That cam lobe there, I don't know if I can get some good light on it, is chipped on the side. I don't like that. It might be okay just to sort of flappy disc that off, that sharpness off, to get rid of any of the jagged edges that might start to break away later. The other thing I've noticed, if you look inside that valve spring, is a nice new valve stem seal, as well as a nice new base gasket down there. I'm just trying, the torch is sort of flooding the area with light too much, so it all looks pretty good like that. There are a couple of things that are sort of worrying me though. One, the camshaft chain, or the timing chain, is very, very loose. You can see there it's moving around, loose as a goose. And if you look down here, we're going to try and move the camera under there, the adjusting bolt is actually missing. Now that's not good. Now, yesterday, one thing I did was I cranked the engine, put my fingers over the plug holes, there was absolutely no compression, nothing, zippo. So looking at this, if I've got T on 1 and 4, can we see in there? I'll just verify that's 1 and 4. Hang on a minute. Actually, I have to put the camera in to do that. It'll let me have a look. I'm holding a torch and a phone to film. There's 1 and 4. You can see the 1.4 there. That's cylinder 1, cylinder 4. And if I put that onto T, which is there, look where our bloody camshaft lobes are. On 1 and 4. It's set up for 2 and 3 to be timed. So the mark on the sprocket up here, which I would have thought is supposed to be, can we get the light right? I can't get the freaking light right. The mark on the sprocket, which I would have thought would be lying down, there's a line there and there's another one on the other side, should be horizontal. Why the heck is it like this? That would explain no compression. It's timed completely wrong. Now the other thing is, that's unlikely that it would have been, would have jumped teeth that far. It only has to jump a tooth or two and the engine will cut out and we've got nothing. So we've got a few things to look at here. I put my finger over with both valves shut, like without the rocker box on, and it looks like we've got compression, so that's a good thing. But it just doesn't add up. I don't know why any of that would be problematic, or at least like that. Now the other thing is, I've checked the spring height. I was worried about a bit of valve recession. Don't forget, these bikes should have been originally run unleaded, I think, 1973 in Japan, not sure. Certainly in Australia we didn't get unleaded fuel until 1986, and they use a valve saver type additive for fuel to lubricate the valve seats. And a lot of the time you'll find cars with LPG or cars running unleaded that are supposed to have leaded fuel will actually get a lot of valve recession, and you'll find them sitting high. And that's what I thought might have happened when I tried to back the valves off and I couldn't. But what I didn't bargain for was the fact the timing looks to be absolutely terrible. So I need to figure a few things out. I don't disbelieve anything that I was told in that it was run, but there's no way in a pink fit it's going to run the way it is now. Right, so let's take stock of this. I've had another look at the chain tension, and the bolt's actually broken in the lower case, or in the upper case. So worst case scenario of that is the cases need to be split to get it out, to drill it. Might be able to get away without doing it, but from what I've seen, that seems to be the case. That cam lobe, now I've got a light and I can see it a little more clearly, has been filed. So we've also got a camshaft that's 90 degrees out of phase. So I think the first thing to do is to pop that around and take it off and line it up properly. Okay, flick him around and take it off and time it. Right, so 1 and 4 should be rocking. So if I take that off, that needs to be, I'm just going to walk this thing around. It's obviously been messed with. I don't understand why. I'm also going to get a torque wrench and just check the head bolts. It doesn't look, just in case anything's been taken off, although the ones down in the plug holes look dirty, so they don't look like anyone's messed with them. Really, it's just this bit here. So I'm just going to get this so that they line up, those two marks. line up level with the, or parallel to the top of the head, which should be there, and hopefully we can get some result. Now this is all going to have to be pulled apart anyway. Let's have a look at that. That looks better. I think that's how it's meant to go. So, it's a hell of a lot better than it was. So we haven't just got different types of bolts. These are two Allen head or hex head if you like. One's 6mm metric and the other's 1/4 inch coarse. Nice. As is this. So where the threads are worn, instead of recoiling, they've just chucked bigger bolts in and tightened them down, which is something of a pain. So I'm just going to mark which ones need to be recoiled. This one does. The valve clearances, I always take the leaf out. They're just 2000s for inlet and exhaust. I probably should have made a little spanner. And that's going to be it there. Can I get that on again? This is an AFS, which is any effing size, and that's what we used to call them, and they're a pain in the neck because unless you have a very, very good accurate one, they walk a slight bit. I might make a tool. This is a pain in the ass. Rightio, so I've done the valve clearance. It's quite haphazard, just to make sure everything's cool. Just going around a second time to make sure we're good. Number 3 inlet. Hang on a sec. That's cool, so we'll go around another rotation and hopefully, hang on a sec, let me see what I'm doing first. This is a $20 gauge off eBay and it's rubbish. It measures far too low. I've got 2 old gauges I checked against it, and the 2 old gauges were fairly consistent, within about 8 psi of each other. This thing was about 30 down on the other two, so the only reason I'm using it is because it fits in here. Now I was going to make an adapter for the other one. I started making it, but the die nut that I needed to cut the 12.1.25 thread or whatever it is was actually dearer than it was buying this whole kit. So it's pretty rubbish. Anyway, let's have a look and see what happens. We're topping out just under 100, which means it's sitting on around about 130. That's alright. So we'll just check the others. So we'll stick a couple of shiny new plugs in. Just like that. Oh dear me, where's the hole? There's the hole. Get in there, you son of a gun. And the coils. What have we got? One is, that goes over that side. That's the number one goes here. So these, I just put the breather cover on just because. And hopefully we get some joy. I'm kind of hoping we do. At the end of the day though, if that, can't find the hole. If that tensioner is really at the point of no return, then it will have to have the cases split, but I just don't want to do it if I can avoid it, because this wasn't, the idea of this project wasn't supposed to be heavy-handed like that. In saying that though, these don't look hard to split. I had a quick look, and you just turn upside down like we did with the other one, and take the bottom off. There's a sling, like a timing chain tensioner sling sort of thing that sits under the crank, so you can't just take the top off. It has to be the bottom. The top would have been better, leaving everything in the bowels, but we can't do it like that because of that tensioner. So we'll just suck it and see with that. Hopefully I can get it out with the engine out on the bench. I'll just turn it upside down and hopefully we can get some good news happening there. Now, the black one with the white trace is the positive in feed, and then the yellow one and the blue one go down to the points, and they just go through the points, and that's it. Not sure if this has still got the little gasket thingies in the ports. No, I don't think it has. We'll just butt them up. She'll be right. Oh, that bracket's loose. Just noticed that. That should fit. Oh, no, I can't see it on the other side, but that looks around about right there, so I'll just drop a bolt through here. It's not like we're going to ride the bloody thing or anything. Right, so let's have a look. Oh shit, I forgot to put these on. That makes more sense. Will this one get around that bracket? Oh. Come on, there's always one, isn't there? There we go. Let's put these on. Now the hardware here is stainless with some generic split washers, which I'm not going to do. I want to use proper shouldered Honda nuts. Somebody said I'm actually there. Hey, look at that. Good. Ever since I saw my first 404 as a kid, I always really liked the sidewinders. They look sweet. Right, to get a spark, I wasn't going to use the loom. I was just going to rack another one on quickly, but I can't be bothered. So if we look here, I think that'll be the rear brake switch, that'll be the points. So further up the loom, it'll be steering head there, right. So it should be, that's power for your points, that's the blue one. Where the heck's the yellow one? Or is it up here? So if that's down the bottom, that's the engine loom, that's all the taillights there. Have I got this the right way? Yes, I have. So it goes like that. So let's have a look. Here's blue. Hang on, just let me check. Yep, that's continuity. Blue there, blue there. Right, that's the blue. So that can go into the blue one, which is this one. And that should work. The yellow one might be in a different branch of it, so maybe that's the yellow one there. Let's have a look at the yellow one. Yeah, fancy that. So yellow goes there. Then they go down to the points, that's easy. So the feed for it there would go somewhere around the ignition switch, which might be that. Right, so I found it, and I've lost it, there it is. Bit intermittent, but we know it's the right one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put power down there, and then that will energise the coils, and we can check for spark. Probably should have just left them all out, but anyway, I left just one out. I'm just going to check for spark there on those two, the 2 and 3 coil and the 1 and 4 coil. We've got the wiring loom just strapped to the backbone, really haphazard, and all we've got are the coils connected, the earth through the bike, which is earthed down there, and that's our feed just for the coils. So when we connect that to the pair of vices, we should see a spark. Little spark there. That means coils are getting juice. So when we kick it, it should give a spark. So let's have a look. So connect them up. This will tell us if the points are working, but it won't tell us if the timing's alright. And these clip-ons look bloody great, but there's no way to ping fit and I'm riding a bike with them. Yep. Got a healthy spark. We're good there. Let's have a look at 2-3. Can you see it? I don't know if you can. Let me have a look. Can you see that? Oh, yes you can. I'll move it like this. Right, let's try this. Yep. Right, we got juice. That's cool. As we said, we don't know if the timing's alright, but we know the points are working, the coils are working, and all this sort of stuff. And best of all, we have compression. We get too far into it, I just want to see if there's anything in these bowls. Oh, good. Yeah, that's empty. I don't think there would be. I don't think there'd be any varnish in there. It's 4 years since it's run, but I don't think it turns to varnish and then it just goes a bit off. I think we'll just dump fuel in and see what happens, eh? Let's just go for it. So there are 2 fuel lines in the 350, if you can see, I don't know if you can see up here, hang on, there it is. It doesn't use a common rail like the 750 does, there's sort of a common rail for each pair. So I'm just going to bang those on, I've just put those on. I think the clear one between it's a vent. And I've just put this T-junction, which is probably not impervious to fuel, but it should give us enough time to start it. This is all a bit messy, but it's a way we can reduce. What's the fuel? 750, there it goes. 750 fuel line into a 350. So let's see what happens. I'm just going to lower it again. And we just do a little bit at a time. And I can smell fuel. Is it leaking out? I can't see it leaking out. I can sure as heck smell it though. and see if any juice comes out. Let's put that under there. Let's have a look at that shirt. Nothing is coming out. Alright, let's go for break. See if we can get it going, eh? Connect a bit of power up. So now, choke on. Hopefully she goes. Sounds like it wants to. Just a minute. Give it more petrol. Bit rattly. Only running on 3 as well. Yeah, the 2 outer ones aren't running properly. So we're down a couple of cylinders. That one's like the 750 actually. Got a lot of noise coming from number 2 carburettor. Well, it runs, but it's only running on, I think, 2. It's got 2 cylinders that are working well, and some of the others aren't. The pipes, like that's warm-ish, so it's doing something, which is the main thing. So we won't know what until we do a bit more investigation. Well, that's not too bad. We've got 2 cylinders running and the other 2 kind of running every now and then. So we just need to look into it a bit more. But we will be pulling the engine out because I need to cut off that rear section of frame and return it to stock. And yeah, just need to clean it up, find out what's going on with that chain tensioner. The engine's actually surprisingly quiet. It started off a bit knocky until I got oil pressure and sort of quietened right down. Right, so this is the end of the video, and you can tell I shot this is exactly the same time as I shot the intro because the pink milk just here hasn't changed. Don't worry about it. Anyway, I'm going to pop the carbies off. I'll do it tomorrow. It's too cold now. It's night time and it is 9 degrees out here. Stuff that I'm going inside. I'll pop the carbies off. I want to see if I can get all 4 going and if it runs nice and smoothly. There was a bit of knocking in there, but I'm figuring it's a lot of clattering going on because there's been no oil in it for God knows how long. That being said, it did come good, but I want to do a cold start again, then I'm going to warm it right up. If I can avoid pulling this engine apart, I'm going to avoid it because I don't want to do it. This wasn't what this was for. I've got unfinished projects, 3 of them here. I've got an XW Falcon. No, that's finished. I've got an XC Falcon, I've got the Plymouth, and I've got this 750. Now I've got a 350. How many do you want to do? So I don't really want to pull it apart, but the chain tension, it really worries me. So we'll just suck it and see. If it has to go apart, it has to go apart. I don't care. It just means I'll take a bit longer to do it because I will ditch it probably in the spring when I start getting the car out. So anyway, look, I hope you've enjoyed this, and until next time, take good care of yourselves, and I'll see you around.